You see drooping leaves and assume the plant is thirsty? So you water it. You see pale, discolored soil and think it lacks moisture? So you water it again. However, the more you water, the weaker your plant becomes, until eventually it dies. Why does this happen? In reality, those signs might be the final distress signals of a root system rotting from suffocation. Watering is not simply about pouring liquid into the soil. It is about establishing a delicate balance between moisture and oxygen. If you are still watering based on a fixed schedule or mere intuition, stop. This video will completely transform your mindset on how to properly hydrate your plants. Watering plants is often overlooked as a mere instinctive activity or a repetitive, habitual chore. However, from the perspectives of biology and physics, watering is the most critical coordination process for maintaining the equilibrium between soil moisture and oxygen. In fact, a vast majority of plants perish more from improper watering techniques than from a lack of water itself. In nature, rainwater infiltrates the soil at its own rhythm, creating distinct cycles of wet and dry. Human error typically begins when we attempt to replace these natural laws with a subjective schedule, watering based on the appearance of the soil surface or a fixed timeline, while disregarding the actual state of the root system beneath. When watering occurs too frequently, water occupies the soil pores originally intended for air, leading to anaerobic root suffocation. Consequently, proper watering is not about keeping the soil constantly moist. Rather, it is about facilitating a rhythmic circulation between water and oxygen. One of the most significant misconceptions in plant care is the mindset regarding water quantity. Many people attempt to measure water in liters or milliliters per plant. However, in reality, plants do not respond to the volume of water, but rather to the depth of penetration and soil saturation. A successful watering session is one where water permeates the entire root zone. For garden plants or woody species, this root zone can extend from several dozen centimeters to over a meter deep. If we only water superficially, on the surface, the water evaporates rapidly before the roots can absorb it. This creates a deceptive layer of moist topsoil, while the core region beneath remains bone dry. Furthermore, the process of thorough soaking acts as a deep cleaning for the soil. As water penetrates deeply, it displaces stagnant CO2 and draws fresh oxygen into the soil capillaries as the water recedes. Providing small amounts of water frequently is a harmful habit, as it never triggers this essential gas exchange mechanism. Soil acts as a flow regulator, and its structure directly determines irrigation efficiency. Water always interacts with the soil before reaching the roots. An ideal soil structure must maintain a balance between drainage capacity and moisture retention. However, soil properties are not static. Over time, soil can become compacted, eliminating air pockets and preventing water from infiltrating deeply. This causes water to either pool on the surface or create false drainage channels. The result is a deceptive state where the ground surface is waterlogged while the root system beneath remains parched. Conversely, soil that has been left dry for too long can become hydrophobic, developing a waxy film that resists penetration. In such cases, irrigation water slides off the surface as if it were a sheet of plastic rather than soaking in. Understanding the specific soil structure of your planting area is the essential first step in determining the most effective way to deliver water. This approach not only avoids wasting resources, but also protects the subterranean ecosystem. The root system is the primary organ for absorption, yet its growth pattern is heavily dictated by how we apply water. Roots exhibit hydrotropism, naturally gravitating toward areas of consistent moisture. A deep-reaching root system not only anchors the plant firmly against storms, but also fosters independence, allowing it to extract minerals from distant soil layers. Ultimately, the sustainable health of a tree is built upon a root system that has learned to seek out its own life source. Many growers often assume that all water sources are created equal. However, in reality, the physico-chemical properties of water dictate the root's ability to absorb nutrients. Rainwater is considered the most ideal source for nearly all plant species. As it falls through the atmosphere, Rainwater dissolves small amounts of oxygen and nitrogen while maintaining a slightly acidic pH, which helps dissolve soil minerals more effectively. Nevertheless, in urban areas with heavy air pollution, early season rainfall may carry harmful acidic impurities. Therefore, the smartest approach is to collect rainwater only after the storm has persisted for some time. Conversely, tap water, the most common source, presents several biological barriers. Beyond the chlorine used for disinfection, which can deplete beneficial soil microorganisms, tap water may contain high levels of fluoride that can lead to toxic accumulation in sensitive plants. Another frequently overlooked issue is water hardness, referring to the concentration of dissolved calcium and magnesium. Long-term use of hard water raises soil pH, leading to a lockout of essential micronutrients like iron or zinc. This results in interveinal chlorosis, even when the soil is well fertilized. For those utilizing well water, extra caution is required regarding iron content and salinity. Untreated well water often lacks oxygen and may contain heavy metals that cause root suffocation. Establishing a sedimentation tank, a basic filtration system, or simply aerating the water before irrigation is a vital technical step. These methods transform water from a static state to a living state, ensuring that plant roots can absorb resources as easily and safely as possible. Irrigation water carries variables of temperature and chemical properties that directly influence plant health. Thermal shock is a frequent phenomenon occurring when excessively cold water is applied during a hot summer noon, or when water that has been heated within exposed pipelines is used. This sudden temperature differential causes root capillaries to contract, paralyzing their water absorption capacity. This leads to a condition where the plant wilts even though the soil remains wet. Regarding the implementation methodology, each cultivation condition requires a distinct technical approach. Overhead irrigation, using sprinklers or watering cans, simulates natural rainfall. This helps wash dust off the foliage and cools the tree canopy. However, this method must be applied slowly to prevent soil surface compaction. In contrast, sub-irrigation or drip irrigation methods focus on delivering water directly to the root zone, thereby minimizing evaporation and maximizing water conservation. No single method is perfect for every plant species. The most critical factor is determining whether the entire root ball has been thoroughly moistened after watering. By flexibly combining various irrigation techniques, growers can optimize resources and respond promptly to the different growth stages of their crops. A plant's water requirement is a variable that shifts constantly based on light intensity, humidity, and wind speed. Instead of counting down the days to water, we must learn to read the signals from both the plant and the soil. Checking the moisture levels at a depth of 10 to 20 centimeters below the surface is the most accurate method for deciding whether or not to water. You can simply insert a wooden stake deep into the ground to immediately gauge the subsurface moisture. If you pull the stake out and find soil still clinging to it with signs of dampness, do not rush to water. Waiting a few more days is often better. This forces the roots to actively search for water while completely eliminating the risk of waterlogging the plant. During the dry season, the timing of irrigation becomes a decisive factor. Watering in the early morning is ideal, as it allows water to penetrate deeply into the soil before the intense heat sets in. Furthermore, mulching with straw or dried leaves is a key technique to prevent up to 70% of water evaporation while keeping the root system cool. Under drought conditions, a well-mulched plant can endure intervals between watering that are twice as long as usual. Additionally, it is essential to limit high nitrogen fertilizers during this period. Nitrogen stimulates the growth of young foliage, which increases the total leaf surface area for transpiration and causes the plant to dehydrate more rapidly. Focusing on maintaining stable moisture levels will ensure that greenery survives the dry season with maximum resilience. Before each irrigation session, implement a control process by addressing 3 core questions. First, did the previous irrigation reach the required depth? Second, what is the actual moisture status currently within the root zone? Third, are there external factors, such as weather forecasts, indicating imminent rainfall? Answering these questions helps growers avoid overwatering Postponing irrigation when it is not truly necessary is a calculated intervention to maintain soil and root health. While most crops possess a certain degree of drought tolerance, very few species can survive if their roots are submerged in excessive water for prolonged periods. In conclusion, watering is an act that requires a deep understanding of the relationship between soil, water, and roots. The effectiveness of irrigation is not measured by daily diligence, but by the health of the root system and the stability of the soil structure. A proficient gardener is one who knows how to use water as a tool to support a plant's survival instincts, enabling it not only to survive, but to grow sustainably and independently within its own environment. Understanding the flow of water is, in essence, understanding the very breath of your plants. How about you? Do you usually water them on a fixed schedule, or do you prefer to observe the plant's cues? Let me know in the comments below. If you found this video helpful, please don't hesitate to share it with your friends. Thank you for watching until the end, and I'll see you in the next videos.